Yeah, we got that Hot Rod Lincoln fired up, everybody. We're going to recount Talladega. Devin was in the stands. What he has to say about the crowd, what we have to say about the implications after a Chase Briscoe win and a Chase Elliott crash. We look ahead to Martinsville and some strong opinions there. And in between, the silly season hot stoves finally firing up. That's here on 5 to Go. It feels like fall, doesn't it? Well, it does here in North Georgia. Welcome to episode 336 of the 5 to Go podcast here. GoPRN.com, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. We're so thankful you all continue to bring those YouTube numbers up there, and we appreciate that. It's not like we're making money or anything, but hey, we're just glad that you're watching. We bring this to you because it's our hobby, and we feel like we need to serve you, and we'd love more people to be served. So like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. But if you like what you hear, be sure to pass it on. Welcome to the show. I'm Doug Turnbull, co-host of this thing, of course, and I'm from Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Gridlock Guy column, part of the traffic team with Rachel Cox-Rosen on 11 Alive here in Atlanta, and part of the announcing team of Performance Racing Network, which ended their festivities back in Las Vegas for the season anyway. Excuse me, I got a little bit of a cough if you hear that. So welcome to the show, joined by my esteemed panel in full with hopefully stable connections here. Never any guarantees, though. We had the big Amazon web outage a couple days ago, right? So first on the line here, and he's our Super Racing finalist who crunched some playoff numbers for us that we're going to get into here in just a few moments. He is dressed freshest as always, and he's our roving racing journo there. Devin Kupka, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, and I'm doing better that I went to Talladega on Sunday, so I didn't have to sit at home and, watch Talladega and the Jets play at the same time. So I'm glad I was just at Talladega and just zoomed in only on NASCAR. So I'm happy about that.
A lesson to every hard-suffering NFL fan. Come to NASCAR. We'll take you. We love you. A race that ran at the same time as the Formula One race in Austin, won by Max Verstappen, by the way. Guess who won the pole? Max Verstappen. Guess who won the race into turn one? Max Verstappen. Our race, however, as artificial as some may, not artificial, but as contrived as it could seem, because they were saving fuel and 2 and 3 wide the whole time, 77 lead changes. I think I saw, I don't want to quote it exactly, but one of the highest number of lead changes in a race over the years, 27 different leaders. One of the highest, not the highest numbers of leaders in a race. So we had that number there, but we'll see what you guys think about that in a moment. But we can't get into that without introducing our other esteemed panelist. He pulls ranks, son. 2018 Georgia Racing Hall of Fame inductee, grinding those gears, working on those transmissions in the speed shop at Dawsonville. Dano Elliott, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Did you know I'm sitting in the middle?
Sitting in the middle.
Sitting in the middle.
You are on my screen, but I bet you have a little show and tell to back up your assertion there.
I do, because we're sitting in the middle, because last weekend it was Gold Rush. This weekend it is Mountain Moonshine Festival. So
was that this weekend?
That's this weekend. And the Gold Rush was in Dahlonega, Georgia, which is an area that I'm familiar with. Went to college there, and we had the Ford dealership there. And it's only about 20 miles from where I'm sitting. And then this weekend is Mountain Moonshine Festival, which is 5 miles from me. And weather should be, according to what I read right now, weather should be great. And we should have a ton of cars, a ton of people, and lots of food vendors, and hopefully some car parts and pieces that we'll have to go through and see what might be there that I might need to buy or sell in my repertoire of fine parts.
And the McDonald's will be packed.
McDonald's will be packed.
You guys, yeah, the McDonald's in front of the Georgia Racing Hall of Fame, Dawsonville City Hall, is now open, and so is that distillery attached to the City Hall, which I would think at the Mountain Moonshine Festival, there might be a little Mountain Moonshine slinging going on, the legal version, of course. So, but Dan, now you said selling parts. So is there like a part swap thing going on? Do you have a booth out there?
No, there's a part swap going on, but there's where you meet the contacts that you walk through and see the people and the vendors. I know a good many of the vendors, and when they display their parts, it brings up conversation to where that, oh yeah, I've got some parts and pieces like that, or I've got this or that to sell. So it just brings up conversations, and it's a lot like people say about doing business on the golf course. And this to me
Yeah, that's a good point.
is like doing business on the golf course. This for me is the same thing.
All right, so look, if somebody's listening here and they're a car guru and may want to connect with you, I mean, you work a lot on transmissions, and I know you have a lot to offer, okay? What's the best way for them to connect with you, whether it's at the Moonshine Festival or, Monday through Sunday?
The best way actually is my phone number is listed. I've got videos on the internet on YouTube, and it's listed under Dan Elliott Transmission and Gear. And you can go on and look at those videos or get the number from that, or we'll have you post the number on your page. So
Dan Elliott Transmission and Gear.
Dan Elliott,
y'all look it up.
Gear. Mm-hmm.
Respond right here. Dan Elliott Transmission and Gear. All right, if you get in the comments, tell us you want to get in touch with Dan, you want to swap parts, buy parts, transmission work done. We don't got sponsors on this show, boys. Okay, this is Dan's business.
Are Ford parts, so I don't know that I have any Chevrolet parts, but that isn't because I don't like them. It's just the fact that through my lifetime, my dad and through when we raced was Ford. So obviously you are going to be Ford dominant on the stuff that you have.
No doubt. I think you got to have a specialty. You got to have a niche. That's it. First on race day.
As Davey said, it's not a junkyard because we don't have Chevrolet parts. It's a salvage yard.
There it is. And Captain Herb smiles from the heavens as you say it, okay?
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, and respond right here, too. Hire Devin Kupka. He is out of University of North Georgia. A couple generations removed from when Dan Elliott stepped off the campus there. Devin Kupka, he's dressed to a T every time. Multimedia journalist. Come on. Respond right here. Hire Devin Kupka. What's the best way? Someone wants to hire you, Dev, or take a look.
Reach out to me, kupkadevin@gmail.com.
Is it Kupka _Devin? No, or is it just Kupka Devin? Yeah, it's Kupka
That's
Devin.
my
So I'm getting
email.
that. Yes, kupkadevin@gmail.com, okay? And if you have any hate mail, fireballturnbull@gmail.com. Hate mail, fireballturnbull. Respond right here. All right, so look, let's jump into Talladega, as Captain Herb used to say. By the way, on the very last episode, the last official episode when it was a weekly show, the Allen Vigil Ford 120, back on my old gig, WSB Radio, 2011, we had a show of outtakes or best of from the years that show ran, 17 years, or actually 18 years, 1994 to 2011, all right? And I was on it in the last few years. And there was and I don't know if you remember this, Dan, or not, but there was a segment they had years before I came on, where they pretended to launch this guy this character that they had calling into the show each week, Talladega Tim. And they had a fake cannon set up and launched Talladega Tim to Talladega, and then they never heard from him again on the show. So that is supposed to go nowhere except that, but that was the kind of radio that we did, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot more fun before I got there, honestly. Just radio in the 90s was awesome. But yeah, Talladega Tim. So we still don't know what happened to him. But in that sense, let's go to Talladega, as Captain Herb would say, and talk about the race, Yellowwood 500. One, as I'm sure you know by now. If you don't know by now, if you're listening to a racing podcast and haven't actually looked at the results of the race, come on, man. Chase Briscoe gets that win, first super speedway win in any division, even ARCA, for the Indiana driver, his third win of the season. And if you told me going into the year, Chase Briscoe, 3 wins in the championship 4, I would have called that the over. All right, I've been like, solid round of 8 guy, maybe he gets a win or 2. But my man's put up 3 wins and I think 7 poles this year. Started second in this race and was leading at the right time and pulled out of line when the bottom line was starting to come apart there when Kyle Larson ran out of fuel. Larson said that this one actually hurts worse in a way to him than the races where he's crashed at the end, because he was actually going to win this one maybe. He was right up front leading the line. And more on that in a second. But Chase Briscoe won. Todd Gilliland's best career finish, second place, and he led 11 laps in that number 34 Front Row Motorsports Ford. Now I'll run through the top 10 here real quick. Ty Gibbs was third, pushed Chase Briscoe to the win. Good teammate this time. Bubba Wallace was leading there on that top line when Chase Briscoe saw an opportunity to go low, and he figured Bubba Wallace was going to cover. He did not. Bubba Wallace finished 4th, though. Cole Custer When did we set his name like ever? Like since the Daytona 500? Barely. All right, but he finished 5th. Carson Hocevar looked sporty all day in 6th. Tyler Reddick in 7th. Another Toyota, Christopher Bell in 8th. Zane Smith was 9th. And Brad Keselowski, who ruffled the Penske feathers by not pushing them hard enough on one of the late restarts there, he ended up 10th. I mentioned the Penske drivers. They seem to me, boys, and I'm going to get your takes from it, but this is mine. I'm watching these stages play out. And I had to go to church, so the rest of the race I had to kind of catch up later. And I know that when you project points in a race, like stage 1 as they run, it's like, okay, is it really going to be that these guys all miss stage points that are running 17th and these up here are going to get them? But they project out as if you finish 2nd in stage 1, 2nd in stage 2, 2nd at the end of the race. Joey Logano, who's not on the 5 to Go podcast, but some people were saying was win or go home, was in the playoffs at certain points in this race, like in the round of 4 on points. Ryan Blaney running extremely well, and it just didn't go right at the end, and it wasn't because of a crash. It's just the lines didn't work, and once they lost the track position, they just pitted on the last pit stop. Logano ended up finishing 16th, Blaney 23rd. They basically have to win Martinsville to go to the Champ 4, which means at most we're probably, again, crazy things can happen, only going to have one Penske car at most. The most probably you're going to have is one, and very unlikely to have either. So they were 16th and 23rd. Chase Elliott already entered under the 8 ball there. He got crashed out and not of his own doing. The A.J. Allmendinger crash that got started. Eric Jones giving Noah Gragson a push. It all went awry there. Chase Elliott finished 40th. Win or go home. William Byron, he got spun coming to the checkered flag. I think I was hearing people say it's about a 21-point spin. All right. William Byron's going to, and we'll talk about the playoff standings in a moment there, but he ended up 25th. And then Kyle Larson ran out of fuel there. He could have locked his way in, not even winning probably. And Larson ended up finishing 26th right behind Byron there. So strange day for the playoff guys. Penske seemed to have it covered. My take is, man, how did they not cover it? That's crazy. But again, a lot out of your control has to happen even when you're doing things right and even if there's not a wreck. So I want to get your take, Devin. You were in the grandstands there. Ty Gibbs won stage 1. Chase Briscoe won stage 2. Toyota seem to be in control of this thing. There are a bunch of them in the top 10. What did the crowd think? What did our super racing fanalists think?
I feel like the crowd was pretty neutral for the most part on Chase Briscoe winning. You had Larson fans in attendance. You had Denny Hamlin haters in front of me, actually.
Okay.
So it was just a mixed crowd, honestly, and that's what you get out of a lot of these NASCAR races. But I think it's not surprising. I mean, I think it's surprising that this is Briscoe's first plate win or restrictor plate track win or super speedway, let me put it that way, win in his Cup Series career, because it just feels like, with Supertas Racing, at least they were competitive a little bit on there or had a chance at winning, but nonetheless gets his first win, puts himself in a really good spot to potentially win this NASCAR Cup Series championship. So it was a really big win for him to now where he could say he's really over the hump and he's being able to show out the talent level that he has, because early on in his Cup Series career, you could see the talent level, but eventually, when he first joined Supertas Racing, it was in 2021 in the Cup Series. He'd raced in the Xfinity Series a few years prior, but
and won a bunch of races in 2020, by the way. Just to continue your point, yeah.
But I mean, his first season he had a good year. Second year in 2022, he made it to the round of 8. With Stewart-Haas Racing, but the equipment and the ride, it was just all the product that he was driving just was declining as the years went on in Stewart-Haas Racing, but now he's able to show off his talent at a top-tier team with Joe Gibbs Racing, and I think we kind of saw that at the end of the race there on Sunday and him getting the win. And, hey, Chase Briscoe going into Phoenix, guess what, where he got his first Cup Series win was at Phoenix in the spring of 2022. So he's got to be feeling pretty good about himself going into the championship in 2 weeks.
He does. And look, that was the first next-gen race at Phoenix. It was late restarts, but he held off a lot of people. Certainly has showed his skill, and he's shown that he can win on a variety of tracks. This year alone, Darlington, Pocono, Talladega. He's also won at Darlington once before, and then at Phoenix once before that. So he's really, shown in different arrangements except for mile and a half and road course he won with an Xfinity. Okay, so Dan, what about you? Your big take out of Talladega there?
My big take was the fact that seems like I've got so many different thoughts about Talladega. Number
Yeah.
one was I love the finish of Talladega primarily because, and don't get me wrong, this is just my opinion, my thoughts, because we saw so many different drivers. You had to actually, other than Briscoe, really, you had to go back to 16th to pick up a driver that was, you thought, going to be a factor to win at Talladega. Really,
Interesting. Okay.
none of these people in the top 15 were a first round pick of who I would have thought would have gone to victory lane. But that's what I've said all along.
Even with past winners, so like Bubba Wallace at 4th, or Ross Chastain there 13th. You know, they've won before. Tyler Reddick at 7th.
Anybody out of this, because my thoughts were going up to when the Penske cars had to drop in and get fuel. It's like, okay, they don't want to win this, so those two cars are mired back in the field. Okay, then they interview Larson's crew chief, and he says, we're good with one green-white checker, one overtime. We're good with one overtime. And,
Not true.
And then he
true.
runs out of fuel, and out of that, it takes out Byron through that melee, and it's like they don't want to win it, so let's see who wants to win it. So it comes down to, at that particular point in the game, I had no idea who was going to win this, because it really goes. Briscoe, I don't think, would have won this either without the help of Ty Gibbs.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt. And Ty Gibbs could have pulled out a line, probably didn't have a place to go. Bubba Wallace looked like he was going to win it. Like we said, the Briscoe dropped low, and he saw there was an opportunity to be on the bottom of the racetrack there. And I think, and he expected, Briscoe was more worried about the wrong person winning than himself winning. Bubba Wallace, not a threat, not still in the playoffs. He was happy, and he said in multiple interviews, I was happy to push. And I watched his full post-race press conference the next day. He was happy to push Bubba Wallace to the win. And that's kind of what's strange to me, is that the trophies, for some reason, and this is the people that are arguing about the 36-point system, which is not really me, but there are some good points being made. And one of them is each race isn't as special anymore. It's like the cutoff races, the Daytona 500, and the Phoenix Championship race are the important races now. And it's like, don't you just want to win Talladega, boys? Like, what? You know, don't you just want to win? And Chase Briscoe sees a checkered flag and he wouldn't pull out a line. Who cares about Bubba Wallace? No offense. Wouldn't you just at least fan out 14 wide, come into the start-finish line and try to win? I don't know. Especially when you're locked in.
With the mentality of people, and the argument can be made if it was a full point season or a non-full point season like it is right now. But people that are in the championship hunt, don't drivers kind of treat them? Not all drivers, but they say, all right, well, I might be in a position to win, and yeah, they want to go out and win a race, but if they're battling somebody that's in a position to go out and win a championship, they're more likely to not maybe race them as hard and just give them the position, because I feel like that's what we've seen, past 10 years or so, and even in the past, it's just the focus is on the championship battle. And that could lead to that a little bit, like this weekend at Talladega.
You would think that this format would encourage win, 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 but it's like if you've got a big points cushion or that win already. I mean, people didn't care how Denny Hamlin ran Sunday. How did he run? I mean, I didn't even know until the race was over. He had some issues, finished 24th. Like, what? Like, it didn't even matter. And so I'm not arguing. I'm saying, but that is one of the valid arguments out of there are many things I disagree with the full season format, going back to Winston Cup points or whatever. But that's one I do think when Mark Martin and the like bring it up that make a really good point, and you kind of saw it there with how people just didn't seem like, oh, I could win. Oh, it's you're just worried about the championship. I don't know.
I will say, I think the disappointing thing that I saw on Sunday is I thought the playoff teams were going to be really aggressive to start out the race and try and hold that position, because how Talladega is run nowadays with the fuel saving, it's very easy to hold your position. There's it's like slot cars going 3 wide, but you're able to hold your position pretty well, except towards the end. But I thought we would see that more. But the dominant drivers of the day were Kyle Busch, Josh Berry, Bubba Wallace was up front a lot. So a lot of those non-playoff drivers, and I just thought the playoff teams would be more aggressive and try to hold their line more, but we just really didn't see that at all.
Yeah, but
Well, I mean, Joey Logano was. He led 35 laps. Joey Logano was. He was on kill.
Don't you think that factored into the point of saving fuel anyway? Because this may be where the Kyle Larson, because you got to ask yourself the question, if they were that secure on the fact that he had fuel, what happened to the fuel? Okay, so was the fuel pickup in the fuel cell itself, was that a problem? Did something happen with the fuel pickup in the cell? Did they not get enough fuel in the car? They thought they got enough in it on the last pit stop, which they would have known how much they got in the car. But did the driver use more fuel than he was thinking he was using, or he knew he was using more but thought he had enough fuel to run hard and still be able to win the race? And this is the magic question, because you don't know, you don't have any idea, but I know that there was I guarantee you they know exactly what the problem was today, because I'd hate to have been in this team meeting as well, because you come out of Talladega with all of these cars, the three Hendrick cars, and your best finishing position was 25th, I think.
That's crazy. Yeah, Alex Bowman had an engine issue. Byron got spun coming to the end. Larson ran out of fuel. Elliott got crashed. Now, something that got lost in the wash maybe early in the race. Kyle Larson kept getting told to save more fuel. So the teams now, so they don't know, they don't have the F and E sign that we have in our cars. And I hate to break it down so elementary, but just in case anybody listening doesn't know, they don't have a fuel gauge. But they can tell with all the satellite data. It used to be called SMT. They can tell based on how much they weighed the fuel can to knowing how much fuel went in the car. And that still is a bit of a guess, because some fuel could slosh out, right? They don't have the catch can anymore, so it could drop down the side of the car, maybe, I don't know how much. They also could be based on the different ratios of the car, the speed, the gearing, the steering, the braking, and all that, how much a driver is saving. And they could predict when they're going to run out of fuel on their own, and when other drivers are going to run out based on all that same data. So Kyle Larson got told by Cliff Daniels early, I'm talking stage 1 or 2, save fuel. And he's like, I'm trying. He goes, I am. And this car feels super slow. He goes, I'm doing what I think I'm doing over. I'm exaggerating, basically. And he still wasn't saving enough. And that makes me wonder, besides any gaffe on the last pit stop, or maybe like what was going on in there, and I'm saying setup very generally, what was going on in their mapping, what was going on in the whole casserole that caused him to be burning so much fuel. And that includes driver effort as well. Kyle Larson may not be the best super speedway racer alive, but I'm sure he knows how to save fuel as good as any of them. So I just, something to think about. That'll be a hard one to dissect. Oh, and by the way, they need to go to Martinsville to be sure and beat Christopher Bell, just in case one of the drivers below the cut line wins. Oh, by the way, then there's Phoenix, and you got to beat 3 other drivers, which it looks likely he'll make it. Devin.
Even Briscoe's team was worried about fuel towards the end. Not the final restart, but when the last caution came out, they weren't sure if they had gotten enough fuel in the tank, and they were telling him to save under caution. And luckily, he didn't run out of fuel, and they were able to juice up the car. Might have been the final caution or the caution before that, but that team was concerned towards the end of the race.
Yeah, I want to give a shout-out, too, to the Trackhouse cars, who finished 11th, 12th, and 13th there. And the lead one was Shane Van Gisbergen, who got stuck in the grass after spinning coming to pit road. I can't believe the field didn't clean him out when it happened. It turned out he had run over a weeper there, although everybody had. Kyle Petty made a great point on Inside the Race podcast and Fast Talk, the PRN show hosted by Doug Rice, that a bunch of other drivers ran over that same weeper, didn't spin out. What was the difference? Well, one, there were more cars coming to pit road at that time, maybe since Shane Van Gisbergen's so good at making up braking, compared to other people, that he might have been doing something more aggressive and gearing down and getting on the brakes without flat spotting his tires, and that could have caused that. Who knows, right? But it was just interesting. The only reason I bring it up is to say what a good comeback for him as well. And we also didn't really see the giant one in this race, although the crash that lap 51 that eliminated Chase Elliott, AJ Allmendinger, and the others certainly was huge. We're glad AJ Allmendinger's okay. Where was that on the track, Devin? I forget. And what was the crowd's reaction when they see the pint-sized Allmendinger down on his knees and lying on the ground while his car's smoking?
I was in the Talladega Tower just past the start-finish line, and I was like the second row from the top. So it was on the opposite end from where we were, so it was really hard to see anything. We just knew he hit the wall hard. His car was on fire. Didn't get out. But I didn't see him like rolling on the ground or anything like that I saw afterwards when I got home. So it was really hard for us to see it.
NBC was trying, and it was on big NBC, by the way, on 11 Alive here in Atlanta. NBC was doing a really good job of trying not to zoom in on it and speculate too much, but you could definitely tell he was on the ground. I was yelling at the TV as before I left for church. I was like, the driver's on the ground. Like what? But, they're trying to be sensitive to that. I'm thinking this is very dramatic. He's out of the car, and he's obviously okay to a certain extent. And it turned out he had the wind knocked out of him, too. It just, we lose sight of how much these hits hurt because they almost always come out okay. William Sawalich went to the hospital after Saturday's race, after crashing in the Xfinity race. That was won by Austin Hill, by the way. And it was released later, but it's just you don't realize how much of a toll the cars could take. In Allmendinger's case, his car is full of smoke, and he already had the wind knocked out of him by having that hard right side hit. So it was like you're hyperventilating and trying to get out of the car, and then you finally make it out, and you still haven't caught up with your breath yet because you had the wind knocked out, and I think you just needed a minute. But still, you have no idea. This car's full of smoke. Another one that was scary, too, and we'll get back to Sunday, but in Friday's race, first career win for rookie Gio Ruggiero, the 19-year-old from Massachusetts there. The first win ever at Tricon Garage, not by Corey Heim, by the way. That's crazy, and they run a 5-car team. But Norm Benning, handsome Norm Benning, who's 70-something years old, had a brand-new Speedway truck. The engine detonated. It filled with smoke and flames, and Norm did not get out of there quickly. And I was worried watching that on Friday afternoon. I'm like, okay. Thankfully, he was okay. But my God, I was scared to watch that. Either of you see that or see replays of it? I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong. It's just Norm's not a small guy, and he's not 25. and he was taking a long time to get out. And we saw in that truck race, I think it was 2 years ago, or was it 3 years ago, when Jordan Anderson crashed and caught fire and was trying to get out of his truck while it was still moving because it was so hot inside and actually had really bad burns. So we just don't need to take that safety for granted, for sure. Leaving Sunday's festivities there, we now look ahead. Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, the only ones locked in to Phoenix, although the two drivers below them have a very big cushion, plus 37 Christopher Bell, and just 1 point behind him, plus 36 to the cut line, Kyle Larson. Barring anyone, the wrong person winning, they're both very safe to not getting outpointed, although we've seen crazier things. But Devin, you've done some research about, and again, anybody can win, so we're not saying it's over and done with, but about the gap in the points here going into this final race of the third round. And I think you're muted. Yeah, there we go.
I put myself on mute there, but
he was trying to mute me, everybody, and he accidentally muted himself, just to be clear.
Anyways, this is so the point differential right now at the cutoff line. You have Larson that's plus 36, and then Byron, his teammate, minus 36 at the cut line going into the final race of the round of 8, which will determine who goes to the championship next weekend at Phoenix Raceway. This is the largest point differential since the NASCAR playoffs started in 2014 at the cut line. The
elimination playoffs. The elimination playoffs, yes.
Since it came in 2014. The second largest one, you have to go back to 2020. Keselowski plus 25. Alex Bowman minus 25 going into Martinsville in 2020. That's the first year that Phoenix held the championship that year. But a lot of years you had plus 20, 19, but a lot of them are in those single digits. Last year,
Yeah.
William Byron was only up 7 over Kyle Larson. That's kind of funny. A swap of positions this year.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are really, really close. Another thing, too, I noticed is how many times Elliott is minus at least 40 points going into this race. Minus
Interesting.
62 this year. Minus 43 last year. He was also sitting last in the round of 8. Go to the year he won the championship.
I was going to say.
Minus 25.
And what did he do?
Won the championship.
He won Martinsville. And who did he knock out?
Kevin Harvick, who was plus 42.
So, okay, respond right here. All right. Kevin Harvick, who had 9 wins entering Martinsville 5 years ago, entered plus 42. And I remember thinking, I mean, he's just got to finish, and then, but because the driver below the cut line won, who is still in the playoffs, and how he ran in relation to whoever was on that list, he was out, and he was out most of the race. Like, he was a lap down running like 15th or 19th or something and tried to spin Kyle Busch coming to the checkered flag. I don't even know what that would have done, actually. You got to run the races. We got to run the races here. So I thank you for doing that. That's Super Racing Fan. Let's crunch the numbers. Devin Kupka, ladies and gentlemen, there. So the biggest differential between on the cut line, and this is the 12th year of the elimination style playoffs. Biggest one is here. And how interesting that next year it's likely we have a different points format too, that this will be the one that has the biggest gap for sure. Hey, Dan, it probably will be the craziest Martinsville then, right? I mean, of course, naturally, it'll probably be the craziest Martinsville. Dan, you got some opinions about going to Martinsville for the cutoff, or maybe ever, I don't know, but what do you think about Talladega and Martinsville being in the round of 8?
You know, they've got to be somewhere. I know that coming into this, I would hate to think that Martinsville, because this is my opinion on it, and going to Martinsville, it's not that I hate the racetrack or anything like that. It's just Martinsville is just a tough racetrack, and to me, it's like a bull ring, and to come in and know that it's almost to some point like you're setting up for trouble. And it's like you qualify these 8 cars and you put the fastest 4 as the last 4, and you put the slower cars first, the faster cars last. And these cars are going to have to aggressively get themselves to the front, because Martinsville is not an easy place to race. It's not an easy place to pace. And it is so easily one of the tracks that you can get. This is one of the places where if I had a grudge against any of the drivers that are vying for this position to get above the cut line, and I want my payback, this is going to be it.
Okay, yeah. There are a few of those that probably do need to be settled as well, I'm sure. I'm trying to think within the top 8 who, besides Denny Hamlin, who has like someone with a bounty out on him, so to speak. I guess Ty Gibbs. Should Ty Gibbs go up and clean Denny Hamlin out there? I guess they wouldn't do anything. He needs to wait till Phoenix. That's right. We talked about this. Yeah, Ty Gibbs needs to wreck with 2 to go while Denny Hamlin's leading at Phoenix, and then Joey Logano, who's just won Martinsville, needs to beat him on the last restart and win his 4th championship just to cause all anarchy. There you go. Respond right here. Okay. No, but that's a great point, Dan. Yeah, is Martinsville, there's so much that could be lost in such a short time, and the same with Talladega, and it can be out of your control. But we have seen in these races at Gid 7 where there's a certain synchronicity to them, and I'll say that politely. Denny Hamlin won the spring race March 30th, so the winter race. Spring, I guess. Excuse me, guys.
Yeah,
he won it leading over 250 laps, just to put it that way. Go ahead, Dan.
This is one of those things that really does chap me the wrong way, in the fact that, okay, we've got a driver's points championship that is so heavily changed or altered by the fact that we can have one bad pit stop that's not of the driver's doing, or we can have an incident that happens, which, in this deal, it's kind of 50-50 deal. Sometimes those work in your favor, sometimes they don't. But the pit crew can absolutely kill you. And one of these, they don't have to do very much to do that. And Martinsville is one of the places that it's going to be hard to come back from this because number one is, yeah, there's caution flags at Martinsville, but not as many, and the ability to gain positions if you have a bad pit stop. You run so many laps. If nothing happens, you run so many laps under green that you can't better your position. You can't do anything except if you run up on the car in front of you, you got to bump them out of the way because you doggone sure aren't going to be able to be given the inner lane so that you can go on, even if you're faster.
Yeah.
So this is one of the racetracks. I hate this racetrack being the next to the last. And I've seen Phoenix be the championship racetrack for so long that I want to see that changed as well. I just don't.
Next year will be Homestead. Yeah.
Next year will be Homestead, and I'll be tickled to death to have a different place to go to. But Martinsville be in this race with 4 cars that are in a must win, do or die, win or go home position, so to speak. This is going to be a difficult race. If you're pulling for any of these drivers, this is going to be a difficult race because you're going to have to unload off the truck extremely good. You're going to have to qualify extremely well, and you're going to have to maintain, and the pit crew is going to have to perform to the peak of their abilities through the whole race to get you to victory lane. All of these things are going to have to happen given the fact that you've got so many factors, so many different factors that can alter your day, and it's not going to take very much to alter your day.
Well, for sure. And hey, Devin, I saw you maybe wanting to weigh in there just on again, the opinion that Martinsville, not ideal, to put it lightly, for Dan of being in this position.
I kind of have the opposite opinion. I like Martinsville as the round of 8 cutoff race. I think it's really made for some great races over the past couple of years. We saw in 2020 with Harvick not advancing, Elliott getting into the final round, all of that. 2021, Alex Bowman goes out, wins Martinsville. Denny Hamlin's all upset about it. I think we provided some really great race. Chastain in 22. I mean, you just look at it. Round of 8 is always normally. Even a Phoenix race back in 2018 was really entertaining that year too, when Joey Logano won his first championship. So I think Martinsville's a really.
You mean the Phoenix race was entertaining as a cutoff? Or
when they first reconfigured the track, it was good.
Okay.
Which I'm concerned about next year if they keep this format, but that's a talk for another day. But
they're not. Something's going to change in the format.
Dan, to your point about rotation later in the playoffs, it's rumored that Las Vegas Motor Speedway is going to have the championship come 2027, which might open up the door for other tracks that are not necessarily owned by NASCAR to host a later playoff date or championship chase date.
Okay, now the rumor being that if there was a championship round, Vegas would be in the round, not the season finale. Is that what you're?
I've heard it might host championship in 27.
But we don't even know if there's going to be a championship race.
The final race of the season.
The season-ending race, yes, which would crown the champion. Okay, interesting. Rumors. I'm sure. If you have a championship round, then it's not exclusive which race has to end the season, per se. Yeah, okay, that's one to stir around there. Respond right here. Certainly, though, one thing, those exciting races you mentioned, Devin, that I think plays to Dan's point, and I see what Dan's saying, and I see what you're saying both. I kind of maybe somewhere in the middle. I would much rather have something like the thing that ends around be decided at a track like Talladega or Martinsville or a place like that where you're guaranteed some action. But one of the things that made those races you mentioned exciting was that kind of anarchy. You know, that the fact that there were things out of drivers' control. I mean, when Alex Bowman, the reason Denny Hamlin was so mad is because Alex Bowman plowed through him on a final restart there. Denny Hamlin called him a hack on TV, right? And went up to his victory celebration and ran into him or whatever it was. I was at a Braves World Series game getting ready for the game to start when that all played out. So that was quite the day for me. All right.
But those
are the kind of, those are the things.
this is not a game of bumper cars. This is finding out who the championship drivers are. Let them compete
Yeah.
in an arena that gives you the ability to show who the best driver is without having to beat and bang your way, because this isn't Bowman Gray. This isn't one of the places that you should have to do that. And let's
Yeah.
see who the let's give them the ability to, if they do have a bad pit stop, to be able to get back, come back from that, and be able to finish like I feel like a a good day would give you at any racetrack, and not penalize you for not being able to pace or come up through the field like you need to.
No, I mean, the all great points for sure. One last thing, and then I want to move over to some news stuff, and then wrap up with our Martinsville preview here. Dev, you were in the grandstands at Talladega a couple years in a row here, and you noticed a difference 24 to 25.
Yeah, the energy level wasn't the same, I would say, as it was last year when the fuel saving really started to take effect at the super speedways. Now it's just comes to the regular fan as this is just a status quo thing to happen. This is normal. So
Yeah.
you really just didn't see the energy. I wouldn't say was off. It felt like any other. It kind of felt like the Jets game I went to a few weeks ago. There just wasn't any energy in the building. That's just kind of how I took it. But
Were there less people too, or was it what?
it's hard to say. I think the fall Talladega race attendance is probably a little lower than the spring races, but even then, I mean, Talladega I feel like is plateaued attendance wise, so it's about what it
Okay.
normally is. I don't know. I just don't. I just didn't sense the energy really in the place.
Yeah. I think that it's been tough. You know, Daytona was a really great summer race. We're going to leave Atlanta out of the discussion because that's been its own thing, even though it's super speedway. But the Daytona 500, Spring Talladega, just that the fuel saving stain was on that, where you're seeing the three wide. It looks great in the sports bar when you realize they're passing, but they're not really passing. They're all just kind of chilling out. That does take away some of the allure. Like, these guys are daredevils. They're on the edge. They're going for it. It's like, no, they're all waiting until the very end to unleash. And maybe that's caught up with that crowd energy a little bit. Whereas a year ago, Devin, you were talking about everybody's on their feet and cheering. And even though they'd seen that fuel saving deal a couple times that season already. So that's
The
interesting.
realization is set in.
Yeah, and I think too, and I don't know if this has to do with it or not, but there's just something. I know this is the world these days. I know it's the internet. I know I'm aware, but man, there are just a lot of people that seem, no matter what, just to be upset with whatever happens in NASCAR these days. It's just all the talk is just so overwhelmingly negative. Yes, but. Yes, but. Oh, it's terrible. Oh, and it's like, gosh, man, some things are just average, okay? It doesn't mean it's terrible. Chill out. And I just wonder that, and then the TV rating stuff, there's a malaise about you don't really have star drivers sticking out, although I'll point out who has the most wins this year, but Denny Hamlin. But anyway, tied with Shane Van Gisbergen. Maybe it's just all kind of caught up to this moment, I guess. This year has just been kind of blah. Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know. But also the fact, too, if there were less people, or maybe just people had less sleep or whatever, huge rainstorm early that morning. You know, if you were camping out there, how much energy you're bringing in if you're up half the night trying to figure out if you're flooding out in your tent. I will say, a guy in my men's Bible study group, Matthew, brought his two sons there, Boy Scout situation. They were all at their first race, and he says his younger son, all about it. He was blown away, by the peloton of cars going by. So we'll see, but a lot of that stuff kind of wears off. You've been to a few races. So, all right, on from that, I'm not trying to have a big negative deal there. I just wanted to kind of see where we were at energy wise. So some news items we're just going to blow through here, and I'll let you guys pick anyone you want to rest on. All right. Daniel Suarez announced as Justin Haley's replacement as expected. Jordan Bianchi, the Athletic, the first to report that, officially announced as we record here today on a Wednesday. He's got a Freeway Insurance, going to be the anchor partner on that team. He's a Coca-Cola driver. He had said he wanted to stay in the Cup Series. Looks like that's going to be that way. I'm sure Justin Haley will have a home somewhere, I would think. But, the tide sure has changed on him from year to year. He was a hot prospect there just a year ago. Could he have even replaced Alex Bowman at one point? That was a rumor, okay? Colleague Racing, team that Haley used to drive for a couple years ago. Colleague Racing will have four Dodge teams and trucks next year. Brendan Queen will be one of those full-time truck drivers. This year's ARCA champion, ARCA Menard Series champion, he'll be in trucks. Colleague Racing.
I like that move. That
yeah, let's go.
Because he kind of raises the bar a little bit when it comes to the ARCA series in terms of gaining traction in a way, and I think this really goes with Dodge Ram's strategy on growing the sport back. And yeah, you got a personality, you've got a driver that has a personality, but also has the skill case to go out and compete. It's done in the ARCA Menard series.
Yeah,
I like this move by Colleague and Ram to sign a good driver, personality, try to move the needle a little bit.
Hey, for sure, got a sweet mullet too, and he just has that whole. That everyman feel. I mean, I know he has some sponsorship and things like that. He's got the everyman feel. He chows down a Waffle House after wins. But he's going to have results, or that popularity deal ain't going to carry too far.
I was at North Wilkesboro last year.
You cut out there, Dev.
And that might have been his first Truck Series start. And I'll never forget, he finished second or third in that race. And that was just a wild weekend. But when he finished, got out of the car, the crowd was cheering for him when he got out of the car, and he finished third in the truck race at North Wilkesboro. So he's got the fan support behind him, and I think that's another big thing as well for a driver that hasn't made many truck starts to get that standing ovation at Wilkesboro in their first start. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. It is, yeah, and you're breaking up a little bit, Dev, but no doubt, Brendan Queen been impressive when he's moonlighted in truck, especially that North Wilkesboro race and with his ARCA championship. And, he thought he was kind of done racing full-time not too long ago. By the way, someone cut out of the Dale Jr. co-owned Cars Tour, and I'm sure that's another reason the North Wilkesboro crowd was really aware of him is because the Cars Tour, been there just before that and doing a lot of things. All right. So the other thing with Colleague, though, is their relationship with Richard Childress Racing, their alliance, if you will, where they share notes, will not be next year. Makes sense, just to be fair, but them being a Dodge team or a Ram team and with the Cup Series being their trajectory, they're not going to be sharing that across manufacturers. So Colleague will be independent of sorts. It's believed to still be a Chevrolet team. We'll still maybe have good motors, which might be why Ty Dillon keeps the 10 car. All right. But that's just the might be, but you kind of put those dots there. However, Colleague Racing has stepped its performance back a little bit, unfortunately, in the last couple of years. I think we're going to have a couple of rebuilding years in their upper two series, before Ram and Dodge climb up the ladder too, and we'll see what happens there. So that there'll be some ramifications, I'm sure, that go to Xfinity. The Door Bumper Clear guys on that podcast are talking about Christian Eckes is believed to be going back to trucks, but all of that to be decided. Also in the Xfinity Series, Raja Carruth will run a part-time schedule. I'm not sure I've seen how many races yet, but a part-time schedule for Junior Motorsports next year in Xfinity with the number 88 car. I think HendrickCars.com will be the backer on that if it's not been stated already. It seems like that's what's going to make more sense. I'm going to look here and see if they say the number of races real quick just to make sure I've got that right. But Carruth has been full-time in trucks the last couple of years, last 3 years, in fact, has a couple of wins to his name. And Ross Chastain, Shane Van Gisbergen at Junior Motorsports next year. They're going to be splitting some time in that number 9 car that ran part-time this year. Daniel Suarez and Van Gisbergen both won in, by the way. And I'm looking down. I don't see. Yeah, it just says that Carruth will be part-time. That could be 2 races. No word on what he'll be doing in trucks. There's some other rumors about what Spire's going to be doing with their trucks. Spire Motorsports, who just made that change with Haley too. So those are a few other things there. There was something else that we want to talk about on the news side. I'm trying to look through and think about that. Did y'all have anything that you saw come across the wire?
The only thing I saw come
Dan,
across
you did about the lawsuit, right? Yeah.
Well, I had just heard briefly that the lawsuit that negotiations that they had gotten together yesterday to try to work some details out, and that was supposed to have been yesterday, and it's going on again today.
Yeah.
So it tells me that them coming back to the table today after a long day yesterday means that both parties look willing to settle if they can get together at this point in the game, but no guarantee whatsoever. But it looks like from this that at least there's a ceasefire for the moment on both sides, and let's see what gets done during this time and see if they can get things worked out to where this doesn't go to court. Because going to court, I feel like on what I feel about it is a no win for both sides.
No doubt. NASCAR has made moves the last couple weeks, particularly with Steve O'Donnell going on Dale Jr.'s Dale Jr. download, Dirty Mo Media, and trying to show. I mean, yeah, we're sticking to our guns, but like, hey, we need to settle or figure some things out instead of just going to trial December 1st. Because if they do, it's like December 1st and however many months a trial is, and then appeals, and this could just drag on for years and hang over the sport just like dirty air, and you'll have the front row and 2311 teams running without charters or maybe shutting down if they continue to be open teams. NASCAR is going to be hemorrhaging lawyer fees. It's just like at some point, as much as I wanted to see chaos and the books opened and some of the dirty secrets exposed, it's like, gosh, can't we all just get along? That we want the sport to exist. We want those teams to be a business. Yeah, and I think NASCAR finally made the move to try to get ahead on the PR too, because it could get ugly on the PR side especially. You don't want to lose the fans' interest. And maybe that has to do with some of this fan apathy, if you will, is you step in here and you're trying to get away from the negative stuff, but it's just all around you, and we contribute to that sometimes. All people do. All right, so those are some of the news stories there. We're not covering every single little thing. NASCAR went up against Formula One this week. I didn't see the TV ratings. But
So
I feel like they're not even drawn out of the
million
same
more-
bucket right now.
NASCAR got 1 million more viewers than F1 did. F1 got 1.5 million, which is the highest ever for that event. But NASCAR was low compared to what it was last year on NBC at Talladega. It was 3.1 million viewers on NBC last year compared to 2.5, I think, 2.6 million on NBC. Now, I think the troubling thing about this is this was going up against a weak NFL window this on the Sunday afternoon slate, so it doesn't look great. But we're also coming off a bunch of races that were on USA Network that weren't advertised all that awesomely. So
you're breaking up there. Yeah, the last part of what you said after week NFL window broke up, but that is an interesting point. 600,000 less viewers year to year, but still 1 million more than Formula One. And you saw me fist bump. Oh yeah, that's great, but I don't think Formula One's success in the U.S. is measured with TV ratings. It's measured with social media engagement, merch, the zeitgeist. That most people now, you ask, that is the number one motorsport in the U.S. First thing they think of, Formula One.
Yeah, the movie didn't hurt
IndyCar's riding. I'm sorry.
The movie didn't hurt any either.
No, totally no. Of course not. Formula One, by the way, and Dev, since your Signals week, maybe we'll save this topic for another time because you are the guy that weighs in on TV stuff, all right? But Formula One did sign a deal to have its races in the U.S. exclusively on Apple next year. And it'll be tied in also, too, with people that already have the Formula One subscription where you can watch stuff directly through them. But there will be some races that will not be behind a paywall. There will be some practice sessions not as well, but basically it's going to be on Apple TV. A lot of people have it, but in comparison to Netflix and even Prime Video, it ain't even close. How that affects F1 and their growth, there's a lot of varying opinions on that. They took the payout Apple rather offered well more than ESPN did. But exposure-wise, you're also not going to be flipping channels and running into a Formula One race. I don't know that F1's target crowd is flipping channels anyway, but you can kind of go in circles, same way with the NASCAR argument of all the different providers as well. MLS and MLB did not do well being, with their Apple deals, even though Apple doesn't release numbers. Real quick, Deb.
MLS is the ratings. I barely watch any Atlanta United games anymore since they went over to that, because I'm not buying Apple TV Plus just to watch MLS, and that's a deal where
Yeah.
90% of their games are on Apple TV Plus. There's a couple national games that are on Fox. I don't even think ESPN has a contract with MLS anymore, but only a couple games are on Fox throughout the year.
No, it's
There's not a
all on
whole lot.
MLS. Yeah.
And, well, also the
Yeah.
fact that Atlanta United hasn't
Yeah.
been great over the past couple of years, but that's another story. But it hasn't. If you actually get the pulse of the MLS
But
club fan
that
base,
is, but
if you get the pulse of the fan base there, it's not. They think the Apple TV deal actually hurt them because the sport was growing even going into the pandemic, but since that Apple TV Plus deal came in,
Yep.
it's hard to get it at bars now. So it's hard to get your MLS games on at bars.
Yep.
You have to go to a bar that has it, so you're gonna have to go to some bar that probably shows Atlanta United games. Just take Atlanta for instance, but it just
Yeah.
hurts the sport more
Yeah.
than anything. And also too, MLS is also seen like in a
Yeah,
tiered
and
system, but that's another story. But it hasn't helped them.
yeah, and I don't want to get too much into the MLS grain. The MLB games and some articles and things I've read haven't done great. That they have some Sunday only games and stuff like that. That, look, I love the idea that if you have the service and it's streaming and you can watch it anywhere. The one big thing the CW lacks is you can't watch it on the CW app, right? And if your provider doesn't have CW already, you're kind of screwed. You can't watch it on Saturday, right? Unless you're there with the bunny ears on your TV. So that's there's really a struggle here between continuity. There's continuity. It's on the same channel that now Apple TV, same channel, just like it's been on ESPN, although they switch the network sometimes. It's still ESPN. You got most of them. There's continuity versus on people's devices on streaming. And then versus, do I want to pay for a subscription or not? If NASCAR, we talked about this last year before the TV deal really got announced. If there was a NASCAR streaming service that you could just pay $30 a month and see all the NASCAR races you wanted, all right, and that's probably what it would take. Would you do it? And would it be worth it to the whole sport? And the answer is most people probably wouldn't do it. They would be mad. But you would know it. You would have it every single week in your hand, on your tablet, on your computer. You could have it on your streaming device, on your TV and all that. Problem is, average fan, and I mean no offense, average fan's like 65 years old. This could work for F1 just because of the average fan base and large percentage iPhone users, yada, yada, yada. But
I think you have to look at
tough
it
one to swallow.
another way too. Is this isn't a HBO Max, this isn't a Peacock, this isn't a Netflix, this isn't a Prime Video. So you eventually go down the tiers of the streaming list order. And Apple TV, I don't know where I don't have it, but I think I would place it probably
small.
around where Paramount Plus.
No, I read an article. It is minuscule in comparison to Netflix. I thought it was way bigger. It's minuscule in comparison. And I mean, I didn't watch Apple TV stuff until about a year ago. I got included in this bigger family package thing that Momo and I got, right? About whatever. I thought there was way more people in it because of the high quality show. Like Severance, for instance, to me was in the middle of the culture zeitgeist earlier this year. Everybody seemed like was talking about Severance. I saw commercials for it everywhere, yada, yada, yada. And so it's like, oh, and then it's only this percent comparison to Netflix. That's crazy, right? But again, people probably also come in and out and subscribe and unsubscribe too. All right, we just really only got a couple short minutes left. I wanted to try to get this thing done in close to an hour. For Martinsville, looking ahead this weekend, let me just, and I'm not going to get through all the practice and qualifying and such, but just to tell you what the weekend looks like, it's night races, triple header, trucks, Xfinity, Cup, trucks, 6 p.m. Friday, Xfinity, 7:30 Saturday. Sunday's Cup race starts at 2 Eastern. I like that. I do like that, okay? But triple header, everybody elimination race before you get to Phoenix. We talked about the Cup playoffs really quick. And again, it's hard to do these even real quick and do it justice. I do care about Xfinity, do care about trucks. We just didn't do much today. And Xfinity, Zilich and Allgaier have advanced on points. They've advanced on points. They've had two non-drivers championship playoff drivers win their races in the round of 8. Almirola in the owner's championship for the 19 car, but not as a driver. And then Austin Hill this past week as he flipped off the crowd while he was doing the burnout, by the way. Didn't have time to dig into that one today. But Zilich and Allgaier, they've advanced. Love at plus 40. Not a total guarantee, but plus 40 is pretty good. And then it gets Carson Kvapil plus 11. The guy that won Martinsville in controversial fashion. Oh, no, excuse me. He wrecked and lost Martinsville in controversial fashion back in March. Sammy Smith is minus 11. Remember, Austin Hill bulldozed his way past that giant Sammy Smith-Taylor Gray crash way back in March that set the sport ablaze. Brandon Jones minus 20, Sam Mayer minus 22. All of them could point their way in past Carson Kvapil, but Kvapil also really good in short tracks. Sheldon Creed minus 41 basically has to win to get in there. He's had a tough couple of weeks here. It's a really up and down season. And then lastly, for the trucks, Heim clinched in, won the Roval. But look at this. Raja Caruth second in points plus 14, Tyler Ankrum plus 8, Caden Honeycutt plus 5, and just below the line. Are you kidding me? Ty Majeski minus 5, Lane Riggs minus 6. These guys are great on short tracks. And then you've got Hemrick, who won Martinsville in March, minus 32. Grant Enfinger, who crashed out at Talladega, along with Hemrick having an issue at Dega, minus 40. Boys, are you not excited about trucks and Xfinity at Martinsville and hoping that it's not a total Dan Elliott crap show there? And I say that because of what you said about Martinsville, not because of you, Dan. Okay? I guess Dan's not very excited about it, actually. But I am.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. I think the round of 8 in any of the 3 series makes it a really good watch to see what unfolds in those races.
I'm in. I'll try to watch as much as I can, though, balancing my home life, okay? Because, there's only so much I subject Momo to, all right? I can't sit inside the whole weekend, this beautiful fall weekend here in Atlanta and with Mountain Moonshine Fest at Dawsonville. So we've covered a lot, guys. Let's get to our 5 to go final thoughts there. Dan, you got anything on your mind before we drive it into the garage here?
No, because I think my point of view of Martinsville is more from the competitor than from the fan side, because that was where my side was basically from all the years that we ran was competitor. And that's the way, and for all the fans that are listening, that's where my viewpoint is basically coming from, is the competitor side, because I want to be able to go to that track as a competitor and have my best opportunity to get the best finish I can without somebody running all over me to get there. And yes, it probably is going to be a good event up there. I hope it truly is. But I'll probably be more focused on the Moonshine Festival for a little while anyway, and then I'll come back in and view the highlights probably after it's over.
And probably the best way to view it, if you've been dipping in the Moonshine Fest after seeing what some of these drivers pulling each other, especially the lower series at Martinsville there. Not that I encourage overconsumption at all. Devin, what about you, man? Final thoughts.
Yeah, really just enjoying this fall weather that we're having here in Georgia. That's, I think it's about time that we're not dying in the mugginess out there anymore. So it's been great weather here, waking up. The house has been ice cold the past couple of days when you wake up in the morning, but I've been liking it. But I love the weather. We need more weather talk. We haven't talked about the weather on 5 to go.
No, we don't.
Oh, let me hit y'all with this, actually. We have 2 more races to go in the NASCAR season. And this just came to my mind. We have yet to have a rain out for a Cup Series event this year.
In any series, we've had delays, but I think this would be the first season like ever.
We haven't had a rain delay for a Cup event since Dover in July.
Yeah, I remember that. I was at a sports bar for a very long time up the street because of that. Yeah.
And we watched the
Chase
end of the
Elliott
race
dominant.
in our pre-show meeting.
We did. We watched it here on Riverside together doing a screen share. That was so much fun, by the way. Hey, my final thought real quick here, and I forgot I had something at 3:30. Okay, look, the top 8 drivers in the Gen 7 era in Martinsville, that's 7 races, are the 8 drivers that are in the round of 8. How about that? Respond right here. The top 8 drivers. Ryan Blaney, who's won the last 2 fall races,
are in the round of 8.
But I mean, really, there isn't like somebody who's fought like this just in Martinsville. I mean, so there may be a randomness to some of the finishes, but the way the points stack up again, last 7 races in Martinsville: Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, Chase Briscoe, William Byron, Christopher Bell in that order. All 4 drivers below the cut line have won at Martinsville before, including in pre-Gen era or pre-Gen 7 era. How cool is that? Stacks up. So we brought the stats to you this week, everybody. And we've got some remembrances about Lanier Raceway we're going to get to next week, or maybe at another time when it makes sense there, because they're coming up to their supposed last race, having been sold by Caffeine and Octane here, Brazelton, Georgia. But that'll be for another time. Devin, Dan, thanks for making the time today. Kind of on short notice, too. It's been tough with the work schedules to fit it all in. We want to thank all of you for listening. Be sure, 5 to Go Podcast Facebook page. Devin's put some videos up recently. I've shared a couple of articles and sentiments on there as well. You can find Devin Kupka and I on the major social media platforms. If you do like a reverse dark web search somewhere, you can find Dan as well. He goes under a very covert name on social media. So you got to find it. All right, respond right here. And remember, on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and GoPRN.com. So for Devin and Dan, I'm Doug. God bless those in North Georgia. Have a great time at Mountain Moonshine Fest. We'll see you next week on the 5 to Go podcast as we gear up for the championship. Take care.